Yeah, I think it's very important to hear from your team and to hear from our researchers, and it's wonderful knowledge base that you guys are getting this morning, but nothing beats firsthand experience or just the camaraderie of being around other melanoma patients. So we wanted to have a patient panel where we could share a little bit of our stories and then maybe direct some questions to them. So if each of you just wants to give us a little bit about your history, kind of condense it as much as you can, introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there.
Start with the worst first, I guess. I'm a low-tech person in a high-tech world, okay? I was first diagnosed with melanoma in 2010, up on top of my head. 2 years later, come back rough in the same spot, right up there. Removed each time it checked out. It hadn't spread. In 2014, I went to see my oncologist first month. Blood worked fine, no problem. Last February of the same year, I started having a problem. I said on my right hip. I broke my right hip in October 2012, and that played a role in diagnosing melanoma. I started having a problem with my right hip in, I believe, March 2014. Thought I had a hip problem. Went to my surgeon. Didn't find anything wrong with my hip. Kept doing tests. Finally ordered MRI, and he found spots, one on my hip and one on my back. So if I had not broken this right hip, I probably would not be sitting here today, because I was not scheduled to go back to my oncologist for about 6 months. So anyway, he sent me to an oncologist in Greenville, South Carolina, a bone oncologist. And they did the PET scan, and that's when I found out I had stage 4 melanoma, which came as complete shock. Because I had no, at that time, no skin cancer and nothing like that. So I had no idea I was in stage 4 melanoma. Anyway, he referred me back to my oncologist in Anderson. We did several scans. He put, I had a spot on my hip. Was the reason I went to the surgeon to begin with. Started radiation, and my daughter kept telling me, "Need just second opinion, second opinion." So I called another facility up here, somewhere around Atlanta area. They couldn't see me for 3 months. I finally called here, Emory, and that's how I first met Dr. Kuchar. I walked in and met her. And I'll tell you, first time I met her, I was extremely impressed. I was going to say, I get $10 extra for that. No. Anyway, I ended up getting treatment back in Anderson, South Carolina, which is where I'm from. In case y'all know, that's about a 20-minute drive from Clemson, then y'all follow Clemson. I was asked not to wear my Clemson cap down today, but anyway. Anyway, I ended up getting radiation there. Also, when I did the scan, and found out I had a tumor behind my left eye on my brain. But anyway, we had radiation for that. And then I started on something called Uriboy. I took 4 treatments of that in Anderson. After about the second treatment, I did a colitis. Severe case of diarrhea is what I call it. And I lost, I think, roughly 15, 20 pounds. And in those 4 treatments, the doctor in Anderson, in fact, he told me, I asked him how many patients, how did patients do on Uriboy? I was the first patient he'd ever had to live through 4 patients Uriboy. And it started sinking in then. I had a problem. I'm a slow learner. Anyway, after 4 treatments, I still had severe diarrhea. And he did scan. I had not developed any new tumors, but some of the ones I had would get bigger. And he wanted to wait a month or 2, and okay. He wanted to wait a month or 2 and do another scan with no treatment involved. So that's why my family decided we'd get back in touch with Dr. Kuchar over here. And we'd come over here, And needless to say, I was right on my impression. She should have planned on how to, what to do. We wasn't going to wait too much. Try doing that more normal. Okay. Started coming to Emory in October of 2014. Got the good car, put me on the Truda. First, I had to get rid of diarrhea, and I think he gave me an infusion of Remicade, which is what my wife takes for arthritis. It did work. Cleared up the diarrhea. I went on the Truda. I think we did it for roughly 2 months. 3 months before we had my first scan. The first scan, we sort of had mixed, best I remember, we had mixed results. Some of the tumors had actually gotten smaller, but the big one in my back had gotten larger. But we kept, in fact, we discussed doing surgery, moving the big one. And when we, next month or so, we did another scan, if I remember right, MRI on my back, and the biggest one started getting smaller. And that told us, I think, everything was really beginning to turn around and getting smaller. And in June of 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma March 2014. In June of 2015 was the first scan I had, which showed no tumor, which in a while was, been over a year. In 2015, June 2015 was the first scan, showed no tumor. Kept the treatment, on doing the treatment every 3 weeks, bringing the drive from Anderson to Cloud, which my daughter and son brought me down here. Thank them for that. And in October, we did another scan, and with no tumor. So besides then, discontinued treatment. I believe it was October 2015. And here I am sitting here, roughly 2 years later, cancer, nothing showing. I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago. I'm still here. And when I first come here, I honestly, I done updated my will and everything else. But I feel blessed to be here today. And I first put my thanks to Dr. Kuchar. All she did for me. If I don't watch it, I'll break out in tears, and I don't do that. I'm very blessed. And anything I said helps anybody, which may or may not. But everything I tell you, my heart.
My name's Seth Bice, and I was diagnosed in January of 2015. I was 33 years old, and I'm a firefighter. I have my wife; she's here with me today, and 4 kids. And I was too busy to have cancer, and I had a mole on my left side down in my rib cage, and had it all my life, and it started changing. I don't know how long before I was diagnosed. It started changing. And of course, I knew I'll go to the dermatologist one day and they'll scrape it and that'll be it or whatever. And finally, it got to the point I was at the firehouse one day and it was itching, and I kind of scratched my side and I felt something and it was bleeding. And so it scabbed up, flaked off, looked a little better, and I thought, I'll wait a little longer. I didn't realize that was a pretty bad sign. So finally, my wife was like, she saw it in the house one day and she's like, you have to go. So went to the dermatologist, and like I said, I figured they'd just cut it off and maybe, if anything, do a little incision, cut some more out. That would be it. And my dermatologist told me, he said, the chances of it being melanoma are low, but, there's always a possibility. So, of course, here I am. I'm a firefighter. I feel great. I do lawn care on the side like most of them. I work all the time. I don't have time for cancer. So about 5 days later, 3 or 4 days later, their office called, the doctor's office, and they're like, hey, the doctor wants to talk to you. And so I was like, great. That's never good when they don't tell you what's going on. And yeah, and so I did not tell my wife that they called, and I took my 3-year-old son at the time. And he told me what was going on, what it was. And so that's when the journey begins, you know, the nightmare starts. And so I went home and told her. And the hardest part through all this was that time when I had to tell my kid. See, I have 4, and so at that time I had I think my oldest son was 9, 8, 7, and then 3 years were their ages. And that was the hardest thing to do, was tell them and to watch them. And so we got through that day, and we made some calls, and fortunately we were able to get in down here at Emory. And Margie was the first person that we dealt with and talked to. Besides my wife being the strongest woman and being the biggest help through all this, Margie and Dr. K have been the other 2 that have helped us through this. And because, you know, your life comes to a stop, and you realize that, you know, this, you know, we are human, that it could be, you know, we just didn't know. I didn't know how long I had and wasn't sure. I never had stitches before. Before this, I had never had stitches in my life. I played sports all my life, out and about, rowdy, running around woods and playing, and I never had stitches in my life until Dr. Delman performed surgery, and I guess I had, I don't know how many 100 of stitches or whatever, but he cut me on my left side, and they did the I guess the lympectomy, where he took 3 lymph nodes out of my left underarm, and because that's where those lymph nodes service that area. And so we had our first surgery, and of course we go back, and we're hoping that we don't have to have another one. I'm expecting Margie to tell us. She comes in the room, and we're expecting her to say, "Hey, everything's good, you know, it's clear." And she says, "Unfortunately, you're going to have another surgery." And so, you know, it's just another punch in the gut when that happens. And you really start thinking then, and you realize this, instead of being around a stage 2 melanoma like originally my dermatologist thought it might be, it was a late stage 3. It was in my lymph node. And so I really got worried then, and I'm the type of person, I didn't want my wife and kids to be burdened with things. I planned my funeral. Talked to some people, and had my funeral planned just in case. But, you know, it was hard, and I'm never going to say that it wasn't, but in a way, and it's crazy to say this, it's been a blessing, because me having cancer has opened doors that never would have been opened. It has allowed me to talk to people that I never would have had a chance to talk to. And it's given me a platform, and it's given me empathy for people that has gone through it. You know, you can always say, "Yeah, well, I'll be praying for you," or you know, sometimes we'll even say, I know what you're going through," or because my aunt or my uncle or my dad or mom went through it. But until you go through it, you don't know. And so now I understand what people face, and I understand the thoughts and the things that go on, and the challenges. And I guess what I would say to people, and my biggest advice is first of all, you got to accept it. You got to face what's going on. You know, too many people try to run away from it. They don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about, you know, the possibility of their life coming to an end. But you got to accept that, and you have to realize it, because if you live long enough, you're going to die. I mean, that's what I've said from day one. If we all live long enough, we're going to die one day. So, but my thing is to try to help somebody, and that's kind of what I started doing. I started doing research and things, not for myself. I do not recommend going to the internet and looking up symptoms and looking up result things. Don't do that. I stayed away. I think my wife did, but I did not. But what I started researching was firefighter cancer, and I started finding out that firefighters are 2 to 3 times more likely to get cancer or multiple cancers at once. And so I started seeing that, and there's a lot of research that's been done for decades about that. That's a specific topic. And so my whole mission became to try to help people. And because I knew if I didn't, I would think about myself. I'd be self-absorbed, and I would worry myself to death, and I didn't want to do that. And I thought, well, hey, if I don't have long, I'm gonna help as many people as I can. And so started finding out things about firefighter cancer, and so I was able to do things and talk to people. And And I have had, there's been a couple of guys that I work with in Cobb County that have come to me and been like, hey man, because of some of your posts on Facebook, or because of some of the information you shared, I went to the dermatologist and I didn't have melanoma, but I had cancer. I had things going on. I had spots removed that if I wouldn't have went, you know, I'd have been in your shoes or worse off. And so, you know, just that alone is worth what I've been through. And, you know, it is a great burden, but like I said, it can be a great blessing. And I was prepared. I was going to go through a clinical trial. I put my life in their hands. I really didn't seek a second opinion from day one. I just, the way things went, I trusted Margie and Dr. Delman, and then I trusted Dr. K and her team, and so I put my life in their hands. I really did. I put all my trust in it, and you know, and I had the second surgery, and we were trying to get ready for a clinical trial, and figured that's what we would be doing, and it kept getting delayed, and so I was kind of getting anxious, and I wanted. You know, I was ready. You know, as soon as you get diagnosed, you want to be treated. You want to have surgery that next day. You want to have treatment the day after that. I didn't want to wait for anything. But Dr. K kept telling me, well, it's getting delayed. We're going to check. And they kept testing the tissue that they had. And evidently from the second surgery, when he removed all the lymph nodes and tissue, there was no more cancer in that tissue. So I was disqualified. I didn't qualify because there was no cancer to treat. So I mean, that was a big blessing. We were worried and stuff, but that was just the way it happened. I was kind of emotionally. I didn't know how to feel because I wanted treatments because just in case, you know. I mean, I was ready to do whatever I could do, radiation or chemo or, you know, anything just to treat something, but there was nothing there to be treated, and so. You know, that was a real blessing that I did not have to go through it. But then again, I feel guilty sometimes because I didn't go through treatments like many of you have or will. But you know, I had cancer just the same, and that's what I realized. That and some people that I know, they think, well, you just had skin cancer, right? I had a guy say that at the fire station one day. We were at the dinner table, and he's like, well, you just had skin cancer because after a few months I was back at work and I didn't lose all my hair, and I didn't go through chemo and all this stuff. And he said that, and I stood up, and I pulled my shirt up and said, yeah, I just had skin cancer. And I showed him the about 18 inches of scars that I have from my surgery. I was like, it was a little more than skin cancer. And, you know, he just didn't know. And but, you know, you come across people that way. And another thing, something else that I wanted to share, that if you're going to have people tell you their stories, like was mentioned, the people you never even talked to. There's going to be that lady that comes up to your wife and says, oh, so-and-so, her husband had that cancer too. A few years ago, he was diagnosed with melanoma. And really? Yeah, and he just died like a month ago. And it's like, of things not to say, you know, that's one of those you check. But it's going to happen, and you have to understand that's how people are. Most people, they want to help you. They want to say things. They want to empathize with you. And they're going to say the wrong thing. I do it. I say the wrong thing a lot of times. You can ask my wife. I don't mean to. Most of that problem is because I'm a man, but I try not to say the wrong thing, but it's going to come out wrong. Don't try not to be too ugly to those people. Sometimes the best way is just to smile and walk away. Yeah, say thanks. Thank you for telling me about that person that died with the cancer that I have. But another thing is after surgery, give your body time to heal. Now, I went back to the fire department. Fortunately, I could work in the office a little bit. But then a few weeks later, I went back out in the field, and I was not ready physically. I was able to pass the physical exam, but physically, I was not ready, strength-wise and things, and I thought I was. And it took a long time. It took a lot longer than I realized to get back to where I really felt good. And so give your body time to heal, and but get active. You know, it doesn't matter what your health condition is. Do something to try to make your body stronger. The foods you eat. You know, exercise, just do whatever you can, even if it's something small. Do something, though. Just try to strengthen your body and to give your body a fighting chance, because you're fighting for your life. And then also realize that you're not going to be perfect. I thought for sure I would go through this and I would start eating right and all that, and I battle that stuff. I mean, my mentality is I work out, so okay, I can afford to eat that donut or I can eat that cake that the lady down the road brought to the fire station that's freshly. Oh, I have to do that. I have to try that cake because it was made for us by a lady in the community. But but try to do better. Try to improve your diet and exercise and just live your life. Live life with a purpose. And I get caught up in the rat race of life too, and I work myself to death. I have 3 jobs, and I've been trying to cut back more but enjoy life, stay busy and active, and just realize that it's a blessing. Life is a blessing, and every day that you have on this earth it's a blessing, and you have a choice to make, and you have a chance to either make it positive and try to help someone, or you can make it about yourself and not. You can close yourself off to the world and allow fear to control you and not care, or you can help. You help somebody else. That's my biggest advice. Just try to get out there and help other people, and it will help you. You'll find that it'll help you probably more than you realize if you just try to help others. But I appreciate your time today, and thanks for having me down.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cara Gullo, and let me open with, I hate speaking in front of people. So if I sound a little nervous, I am. But I'm here today. First of all, it's a blessing. It's a miracle. It's amazing. I'm happy to be here, but I am currently a stage 4 melanoma. I guess I use the word survivor, but I also like the word I'm managing a chronic illness. And to me, that means a lot. It means, I guess, I've got hope for my future. I have hope to see my kids graduate and be a grandmother and all these great milestones in life. But my story is, I'm 47. I've been very good throughout my life about getting my skin checked, once a year, once every couple of years. But I had gone in for a skin check, and I'm fair complected, so it was very common and normal to biopsy and take some things. And I would always get the call that said, hey, this thing looks kind of funky, or go get it surgically taken off. And you just you think, okay, no big deal, and you go through the motions, and you never dream of getting the results that it's something more serious than what you're used to hearing. So I say all that with so I kind of similar to these guys. I had a mole that was taken off, and it came back pretty serious. So I guess they staged it, and I'm not good at this, but they staged it, I think, maybe a 2 because of the depth. And I went to a surgical oncologist, Dr. Jonathan Lee, who's amazing. He's out of Northside. Sorry, Emory, but he's a good guy. So anyway, so he did that, and then once you go through that surgical piece, you're on that surgeon's watch for 5 years, right? You have to go in every 3-6 months for scans and or chest X-rays and blood work. And so part of that follow-up after that surgical removal of that mole, and it was a pretty big, it's called the wide WLE, or yeah. So they they get the mole and then the margins around it. So at any rate, so I was going back and going through my follow-up, and I had gotten my dates mixed up. I was supposed to go in for just blood work, but I accidentally went in for a chest X-ray instead. And that chest X-ray came back, and there was a spot on my lung. And I thought, no big deal, because I'm pretty carefree, happy-go-lucky. It takes a lot to get me down. And I said, it's just probably some infection, no big deal. And fast forward, you had to go back for a PET scan because Dr. Lee wanted to get just a deeper evaluation, a deeper read. And I lit up like a Christmas tree. So I had, 8 to 11 spots that were cooking, right? No side effects, no symptoms. Had just worked out that morning. I mean, I'm in a great place. I'm happy. I've got 3 kids. Life is great. I'm sorry, what did you just say? I have what? And if that doesn't stop you in your tracks, I mean, you do not forget that day that you get that diagnosis. So me and my husband, we had to process all of that. And kind of to Seth's point, you then have to figure out, okay, what's our plan? You know, how can we fix it? We all like to fix things, right? Our time frame is always much faster than our doctors. And so one thing that I can, I guess, recommend and encourage is that when you get that diagnosis, know that there's some time to put together a plan. Do your research, not on the internet, but, you know, talk to other doctors. I encourage to meet with other people, talk to other folks that have had melanoma, because then you've got to put that plan together, and you got to do it strategically, right? So I'm the opposite. I met with a couple of different doctors, and the first doctor that I met with, I just didn't have that connection. I didn't feel like his sense of urgency was my sense of urgency. You know, he's a little lackadaisical, and I said, "Oh my God, we got to fix this." Anyway, let me back up. So stage 2, and I guess I jumped to immediately stage 4. There was never a stage 3. And I kind of stay away from that because I feel like once you hear that, that's all you focus on. You obsess over it. You think about it all the time. I still do. But at any rate, so interviewed a doctor, wasn't really fond or didn't like what I felt or what I heard. And lo and behold, I made my way down to Emory. A very good friend of mine who I go to church with she's connected down at Emory, and I called her and I said, "Lynn, what do I need to do here?" And she said, "You got to get down to Emory and you got to get yourself in a clinical trial." And again, going back to hearing what stage you have, you're so desperate because you know the clock is ticking. And I go back to the point I just shared. Just know you've got time. You know, I mean, not a lot of time because you want to get that plan going. But at any rate, so I made my way down to Emory. To this wonderful doctor who I absolutely adore and love, Dr. Lawson. He has saved my life. And I will never forget the day that I walked in and to meet with Dr. Lawson. He and his nurse extraordinaire, Nisha, never gave me a timeline. They kept giving me and sharing the word hope. They kept saying, you know, you're here at Emory and we're going to give you hope. And we're going to do whatever we can to sustain your life and to give you a long, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like this huge weight had been lifted. And I knew I was where God wanted me to be and where I needed to be. And so they educated me on, joining a clinical trial. And so, of course, I had to do all of this testing and to make sure that I qualified for this trial. And the cool thing about being in the university system that I've learned is that, you're part of a family that's on just the cutting edge of all types of research and medicine, and it's awesome. It's not just Dr. Lawson and his team that's looking at your case. It's other folks within the world of cancer here at Emory that are looking at your case. And so you're always going to get 3, 4, 5 sets of eyes that are looking at your particular file. And that to me is reassuring, knowing that, even though Dr. Lawson is amazing, he may not have all the answers. And so you're in a good place if you can, stay here at Emory or get your care here at Emory. Fast forward, I went through the clinical trial. I was one of those folks that did do the Ipi-Nivo combination and felt great. Had my infusion on a Monday. Fast forward, I was in the hospital Friday of that week. Severe colitis. It was horrible. So much that I had to, go into the hospital and I had to take what's called Remicade. And so they had to keep me for a couple of days. But then again, I was glad I was here and under the care of Dr. Lawson. So consistently gave me reassurance that, we were going to get through this. And I continue to hold on to that today. So got out of the hospital. My treatment was I had to go on steroids for quite some time, and it was a high dose of steroids. And then, typically what you do is you start at a high dose and you taper down. So after I went through that treatment of steroids, I was ready to get back into the clinical trial. And to Dr. K's point, or was it Dr. K about the clinical trials? I did get kicked out of that trial because I got kicked out. And it was because it was too toxic for my system. I guess the positives of that was that my immune system showed great response, and it showed that, hey, it was woken up. and it had been revved up. And so even though it was toxic and it was, a pain literally in my rear, that was a good sign. So fast forward, got through the steroids, and then went back, and Dr. Lawson had talked about, well, we might want to look at interleukin, IL-2, and doing some of my research, I knew that was something I didn't think I wanted to do because of just some of the side effects. And you go through this procedure, and there's a very low percentage that, I would respond. And knowing that I've got these immunotherapy drugs that are out there, I'd like to try something else. What else is on the shelf, Doc? So then I moved to Keytruda. And keep in mind, I had, just going back to the clinical trial, I had 1 dose of the Ipi/Nivo. Okay, so just remember that. Got through steroids, went back to Dr. Lawson and said, okay, what else are we doing here? So we decided to do Keytruda. Did it 1 dose of one treatment of Keytruda, and felt like amazing, $1 million, no side effects, nothing. Went back to work, everything was great. A little tired, little joint pain, but nothing. And then went back, I guess 3 weeks later, did my blood, and Nisha came in and she said, yeah, your liver enzymes are just off the roof, and there's no way you can go back to Keytruda. So I'm like, oh, here we go again. So I had to go on steroids for a little while to get those enzymes down, and they came down, and went back in for scans, and everything looked great, stable, tumors have shrunk, everything looked great. Not cured. I don't think we'll ever use the word cured, and I'm okay with that. But to know that I've had 2 treatments 2 years ago, 2015, it's now September 23rd, 2017. I've had no treatment since then. My last treatment was the 1 treatment of Keytruda, July 2016, and here I am. I feel amazing, and my scans still show, not no evidence, not NED, but just everything is stable or shrinking or just inactive, and that's okay, and I'm good with that. So I'm here today just to give you all just some encouragement to know that these drugs work, and they're awesome, and you're in a good place. And kind of again to mirror your point about it being a blessing, it really has awakened me to those that have walked down this path of cancer, and you are very empathetic. I've always been empathetic, but I'm extremely empathetic. And when those folks do tell you to, eat, a half of a rhubarb on the south side of your house looking at the sun, you just say thank you. I will take that in consideration. So anyways, but my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Lawson and his team. I look forward to a long relationship with you all. And good luck to everybody that's out there that's going through treatment, or maybe your loved one. Just, you got to be strong and just stay positive and have some fun. Laugh. You got to laugh a little bit, because it can be so daunting and depressing. But anyway, thank you. Thanks.
We had initially wanted to do some questions. I think you guys answered a lot of the questions that I would have really posed to each of you. So I'm grateful that your stories, were shared today, and that you guys hit on some things I think a lot of you may have already experienced or may experience in the future. Are there any pearls of wisdom beyond the ones that you guys gave today that maybe you could close quickly with? And then we're going to pass it off to the panel for the physicians. Okay.
I did mean to say that in the fire department we have this technique, exercise called broga. It's not yoga, it's called broga in the fire
Sounds
department.
manly.
So, and that does help. That has helped me. I do yoga every now and then, and it does help.
Yeah, anti-inflammatory, as we learned today, right? Yeah. Mr. Merck? No? Okay. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all. That was inspiring.